here's how we actually, like, maybe after you've gone through the whole overview of, like, the scope of the project, go into, like, here's what I focus more on actually making it. Experimental setup. You want to show, like, how you overall did stuff. And this is where Charles threw in one of the videos, which is where it rotates and we see all the bubbles.
That's dope.
So this is just the initial rotation. And you can kind of start seeing everything starting to shift around and coalesce. Thankfully, this one I don't think had any audio of me saying fuck in it, so don't say that in the presentation.
That would be funny. Definitely I want that because it's like a nice image rather than just showing like it's.
This is not even the best one. This is I don't know why.
But I'm saying something like that would be
yeah.
good because then they can actually see like, okay, well when I'm snapping the images in image J, this is what we're focusing on. Yeah. And definitely the device we can show like, okay, this is what we made experimentally. Yeah, that's nice. It's funny because it's like as we're talking more through it, it's like okay, 15 minutes is not that bad, but it's just a matter of like getting all the details out, organizing everything.
So here's before, other than just cropping.
Okay.
Like these are just cropped.
Oh, they were already cropped, but these are not grayscale.
These have not been grayscale. These are not been like these were just images straight up just cropped.
Okay.
Charles, I don't think lined it perfectly, but that's fine. At different time points. So here's what they look like initially, like as soon as we flipped it, and then after 1 minute, and then after 6 minutes, 16, 36, 76, 156. Total for our cropped region, there's still a few levels below that, but like it all went away. And then he zoomed in on this and differentiated like here's where the actual bubbles are. There's the plateau borders, and or between some of the larger bubbles that had started coalescing already, the thin lamellae between them. I have like 2 slits. Still makes sense. Okay. And so again, like this is all still like introducing the scope of the project and definitions. Charles' presentation went on for a bit longer than 15 minutes, so you don't need to go into as much detail on all of this, but this is still just kind of like general outline of how to approach it. I don't know why he put it in horizontally, but it was the breakdown of like where the bubbles are assigned.
I'm sorry, could you go back?
So like this is just like one of the image images of like here's all the numbers for what the bubbles are.
Oh, pretty much that's like with the probability map where it actually counts the number of bubbles that were formed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. But it's funny because it was black and white. I'm so used to seeing them in red now.
I know, which is why I was confused when I first saw this, and I was like, Charles, why did you not rotate it? I was like, they got the gist.
It kind of looks more fun though.
And so these are the histograms that I will also send to you guys.
Okay.
Because this is what we did for the foam systems, the bubble systems, that we want to get for emulsions as well, and then we also want to get for foams and emulsions stabilized by particles. And we're not quite there yet because we ran into troubleshooting things with all of the stuff, which is fine. And like that's the reality of research.
Didn't ours only go up to 400 though? Because he shows like
so
that 400 was that size? I'm trying to remember how we organized.
I think that we were restricting by size because we were looking at just the plateau borders because we were making graphs of just the plateau borders. This is a histogram of the entire distribution of everything to show here's why we decided plateau borders were, or slightly larger liquid inclusions like that one right there. Do you see? So, do I have it? So like where my mouse is right above this bubble, there's that.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the plateau border, right? Like the dot pieces on the bubble, pretty much. Yeah. Well, when you zoom in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see these really big 4 bubbles right here.
Oh, that they're kind of like coming together
and
like
that
a flower.
Whole, and that big area in between them is not a bubble; it's a larger liquid inclusion, is what we called those.
Okay.
And so, because of the distribution in sizes, we can say, okay, clearly here are plateau borders. These are in the range of what? Because this is all in pixels right now. which we can convert into an actual area.
So with the histogram ones that we had, those with the I remember we did 400 as well. That was in pixels also?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to remind myself. Because I'm like, that was so long.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait.
So with each of those images,
Mm.
we will have to figure out the scaling between like what is the actual like real world length of a pixel, like how many millimeters, like point some number of millimeters,
Oh.
because with each set of experiments we were at a slightly different distance, and so we measure that based on the width of the channel or the width of the chamber, because we
I'm
have
sorry.
those actual.
When you said the width of the chamber, do you mean like, okay, so you know how we had like,
This way or this way, you mean? Or
well, isn't it kind of like the whole thing? I was thinking back to the other slide that they had.
like
Bubbles.
this one?
The one, no, before. More. Where it had the, okay, see in this example?
Yeah.
You see the gray, how it says 100 micrometer? Yeah. So do you mean like up and down or like the whole, just that whole region? Because you're talking about the rectangular piece inside the microfluidic device, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, whatever's captured in the image, we can use as a. So I'm just gonna get this. So when did I get it for this? When did I get it? There we go.
You said when did what?
Trying to get the image in focus.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, it was super blurry. So what is that? That's what I didn't understand.
Not super blurry.
A little more. Right there. Nice.
So, in the actual image, it's a set number of pixels. When we crop it, we don't change the dimensions of those pixels. We just say, all right, so pixels, 0 through whatever, we don't care about. Boom. So then we're only focusing in on the actual amount of information per real world square area is the same. And so if I wanted to know, okay, what's the actual radius of, or diameter of these bubbles, or like this particular bubble, I don't have a reference point for just that, but I do know, okay, from here, like this corner to this corner is whatever the length is for this particular device. I have it written down, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. Or I can say, okay, well, I know that like this is a certain width, or this is a certain width, and from that, I basically tell, and then you can do this in ImageJ. I tell ImageJ, okay, I've got from this point to this point, this pixel to this pixel, and I know that that's for this channel. I know that that's 400 microns. And if that's 400 microns, that tells me how many, like what the actual length, like per pixel is. So one pixel will be, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. Let's just say 16 microns. I could be wrong on that. And then I can go over and say, okay, well, if this bubble is X number of pixels long, then it's X times 16 microns, or wide, or radius, or diameter.
Okay, when you talk about that particular bubble, right? Let me just make sure I'm understanding.
Yeah, let's pick
Any bubble, it doesn't really matter. So the one that you said earlier,
one of them over here.
okay, let's say he's X amount of pixels, right? You said that you determined that X amount of pixels in that bubble, you mean the diameter of the bubble.
Yes.
And that was determined based on the width of the channel and from pixel to pixel, from edge to edge of the rectangular chamber.
So
What-
if I know
I'm sorry.
that this is like
What's
30
the-
millimeters, and let's say it's 200 pixels,
Mm-hmm.
I know the length of one pixel is going to be 200 divided by, or no, hold on, it's going to be 30 divided by 200. Because that'll then give you millimeters per pixel.
Okay, I get what you're doing. Millimeter per pixel. Okay.
And that's going to be, those were just numbers pulled out of my
Just right, just for sake of argument.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had another question. What was I gonna ask you?
But that basically just gives me a scaling factor of like, okay, now I can say if the bubble is 5 pixels wide, it's then X many.
There was a
microns.
point. This was a while back, and
Yeah.
it would probably just be easier when we actually pull up the histogram itself. But I remember you said that the scale was like reversed when we were talking about the axes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because didn't all of that come into play when we were talking about the diameter and all of this
Yes,
Like-
so that came into play for
okay.
when we were graphing it. So not
Okay,
the histograms,
yeah.
the actual graph, and I'll get into that
So we'll do
Because-
that after. Okay.
because the photo information. This is the 0 y-axis, and then y increases going down.
So 0 y. Oh, and y increases going down.
So
Okay.
normally when we would graph it, 0 would be over here, and so the graph looked like this, but we wanted it to be flipped the other way because
How we normally interpret graphs, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are all in pixels. We can convert those pixels to actual areas to know the area of the plateau borders, the area of the bubbles from full focusing, and then the area of the larger bubbles. This is initially the initial, like we just flipped it times 0, 1. And so then this was the graph that we were making that you guys were more involved in when we were doing the just under 400 one. Because this is
When we did the Excel sheet, right? Okay. And that line is just to fit like how we
so
normally
yes,
do.
this is a
Okay.
fit line. We have the logarithmic scale for size, so that so we have a straight fit line, just to make it look nice. But we've got all of our points for the x-axis is size of the plateau border, y-axis is where in the picture it is, and these
Okay.
are the averaged sizes.
I'm sorry. You said the y was where in the picture it is, and then what was the x again? The size.
The size of the plateau border.
Right? Okay, size.
But so this is averaged. So
Averaged,
basically, so this is what we did with that MATLAB code, where
Right.
we took sections of 30 pixels, and in that section of 30 pixels, it was like, okay, every bubble that is under 400, or everything that the image J thinks is a picture is a bubble, we then grouped those together and averaged over. Basically, I took bins of 30 and said, all right, everything in this is in 0 to 30, you're averaged on your size. Everything in this is 30 to 60, you're average. 60 to 90, you're average. And it went through all of those across all 1,800 pixels of the image. So then we have, and then we flipped the y-axis to go this way because 0
So that you have
corresponds to the top.
The top of the chamber, pretty much,
Yeah.
right?
And so we can see as we go down, so as we go down, the size of the plateau border increases.
Yeah, I see that.
And then we did that at 1 minute and then 6 minutes. This is that same graph at 6 minutes as we're getting stuff a little bit more skewed
Okay.
because it's just with this little different trend. And then 16 minutes where Charles did not quite get that photo on there quite right. 36
He
minutes.
took off the last book.
Mm-hmm. 36 minutes, 6 minutes. So this is at 156 minutes where we really don't have much in the way of bubbles left because they're all at the bottom.
Right, and that's why it makes sense with the graph because it's more mostly the liquid. Yeah.
But this is basically just to demonstrate that, like, yeah, we don't really have any plateau borders left, and there's not much of a correlation at that point because there's not much there. And that's the end of the presentation. That's it.
Wait, can I just see the last slide?
Yeah.
Oh, he just like ended it there. There was no end.
He doesn't have that much to talk about. Like,
So that was what our professor presented.
yeah,
When he went away, right?
because he was basically just presenting an update
Oh, of like
on
what
what
was
the
happening.
project was at the time.
Mm.
But that's kind of just like general structure. So you want to introduce the scope. I mean, yeah, really everything that I had said in. Yeah. So you introduce the project and the scope of the project, and so what
So
you
this
guys get to
had
do, which is kind of nice, is you can say there's this whole larger project that is working towards this goal. We contributed to this one small part of it, and I'm not saying small to like diminish what you guys worked on, but like it's
Small as in the
like this is
the
easily
depth
a,
of how the project should continue. and
this is
stuff.
easily like a 2-3 year project, and you were there for a semester.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's you
So
are
it's like an open end that this research is still going on, and that,
Yeah.
that's
But,
how
like,
much we did.
but
so
there
far.
is progress happened during each semester. You
Definitely.
contributed to it, and that's what you have to present. And there are some results with it, but not all of the results because there's further work to be done. So you can outline the whole project, and then so like the scope of the entire project, and then the scope of what we focus on. And that's why I said the narrative of your contribution. You can walk through it, elaborate more on whichever parts you guys are choosing to elaborate more on. And then the results section is basically going to be like.
Okay, so pretty much like the outline should just be like your overall title, blah blah blah, then your the overall what's the project, and then pretty much these bullet points that we're gonna follow.
They don't have to be in this order.
I mean,
just where they came to my brain.
it's like points to touch on. Obviously, the order's gonna depend on what we're focusing on. But my other question was, okay, so where should should we mention applications in the beginning just to kind of like give an overview for scope? Okay, and then later on we can just say like these are the results that we got up to, and then for future directions,
Future
like,
work, yeah.
Like I guess I don't know what we should put in for that piece. So like mention because
So we've
we're
already
kind of like still in the middle of things.
we are in the middle of this, but you can say that like so we've started trying to get the particles to behave in the interface how we want them to.
Yeah. We haven't worked much on
Stabilize
that.
foams and emulsions with particles. So because we can't measure the drainage if we don't have a stable foam or emulsion. Because right now they're not stable.
Also, I remember not the last time, but the one before that when we were doing with the particles. It started like the passageway started swelling up, and I don't know if you remember. Not last week, but before that, we were working with particles, and on one of I think.
And they were just all joining together.
Yeah, they're just. Why did you say that was happening again?
We're not entirely sure, but we think it's because there's a couple of potential reasons. One could be that the particles are repelling each other enough that there is enough distance between them at the interface that it's very easy to manipulate, move, and rupture that interface. Because if I've got two particles in the interface and they're really far spread apart, when they get close to another, like, well, in this case it's a really large droplet or large bubble, the particles are repelling each other. They could repel even more so that the water will jump and connect to each other, or the air will jump and connect to each other, and basically merge in to make a larger interface.
I'm not really following. You said that the particles are repelling each other, but so that there isn't enough distance.
So there's
between them?
So there's too much distance between them to actually stabilize it because.
Also,
if you're trying to have the particles
they have
prevent
to
each
come
other from
closer.
like knocking together, but they're too far spread apart. It's like, let's say this is another particle. If I've got my particles here and the particle there, and they're not really close enough to like mess with each other, boom, they can like knock in and then go, oh, I don't like this, and readjust, and then be merging all together so that it's one giant bubble or dust.
rather than coalescing nicely and
Well,
then
rather than having them be distinct bubbles or droplets that then take time to coalesce.
okay.
So basically, we are fine-tuning getting the particles at the interface in a way where they will actually stabilize the system. We've gotten them to the interface, but they're not stabilizing the system.
So I guess what would define that they are stabilized? Just as that they're coalescing, or like
So you
just
know how with the bubbles, we were able to get like with the bubbles, they go into the chamber and they all look like that.
like more uniform? You mean?
Well, not necessarily uniform, but just where they are all separate and distinct things. So right now, it's here. There's all of this liquid film in between the air bubbles,
Okay.
stabilized by the surfactant. Where the surfactant is raising the disjoining pressure to a point greater than what the bubbles are pushing against. So the bubbles are pushing against each other, but it's not enough to actually rupture and merge the air regions together and separate the water. because the surfactant is just kind of like holding everything safe.
Mm.
The particles are not yet doing that. We can get them to do that. People have done it. We just have to get it to do that because of. I mean, that's the next step, and that's why we're going to explore the salt concentration as well, because that might. If the particles have a negative surface charge and they're repelling each other because of a negative charge, if there's some salt in the mix, well, then there's going to be some positive charges floating around. Negative charges are more likely to hang out close to each other if there's a positive charge in the middle. It's like, to use a really, oh, can I think of a good example for this? No, I can't think of an example of this. I was going to make a really bad analogy, but I can't think of even a terrible one. So that's the kind of like the next step goal that we need to do is get the particles to stabilize so that we can get something that even looks like this to then measure the drainage. Because we want to know how the particles change drainage. Right now, we're not even getting to the point of having an image that is lasting long enough to drain.
Oh.
So, and that's something that you can present as like next steps, future work, or like what we were working on when the semester was ending was stabilizing the system so that we can actually measure.
Any research anything? Is there any question?
And that's part of the result section is going to be like future directions of like what is the project doing next, what is the next aim of the project, but also what would you like what do you think would be a thing to do? Even if I'm not planning on doing it, what do you think would be cool to do next? You'd be like, Justin's trying really hard to get these particles stabilized, but I think it'd be much cooler to, do X, Y, or Z. Like you may say that you want to look at different surfactants, or potentially a different continuous phase. Like maybe you want to make this apply more directly to like the food industry instead of the cosmetic and self and like personal care industry. So instead of soaps, you want it to be like you want to find like some protein that is ideally like maybe you want to make like a vegan foam. So you want there to be like a protein that is plant derived that can stabilize an emulsion so that someone can make like a vegan meringue.
That's not cool.
I don't know, like I
don't know if that exists.
I'm just holding that out of the area. It might exist, but like,
right.
but you maybe if it does exist, but you want to like measure its properties and see like mechanically how different is it from another system.
Right.
And that could be a thing. Instead of like, so we're looking at surfactants, we're looking at particles. Maybe proteins are the next thing you kind of want to look at because there are proteins that do act as surfactants. Or
Yeah, I was reading about that on one of the articles.
Yeah.
We saw it in the food industry at that time when you were asking us to find papers.
Yeah.
I found one that would, yeah. Okay. So next week, I have a question. Potentially, I want to actually have put something together, if not like apply the
I
whole
want to
thing,
finish.
so like that we can.
I
Majority.
mean, you
Show
guys are
you.
gonna have time to put stuff together as well today because I have class at 4:30.
No, I'm saying like can we pretty much go over
Oh, absolutely. Like,
this?
Yeah,
like
before I hand in my-
yeah, like I don't want to just be like, all right, this is nice, and then be like, that doesn't make sense. Rather than, oh, what happened here
Yeah,
with
what
this
did
image,
Proofread
like
they
you
used
know.
to be good.
Well, like maybe we could explain like where we're going with this slide rather than it being like, oh no, that honey, that's too tangent for this, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I want to have sufficient content to be able to talk about that much time, and so I want you to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like next week we can do like a run through.
Okay. That's fair.
Or or even the week after. Hold on, do we have class? Wednesday, I think is the. Well, let's
Yeah, let's look
I
at
think
the
next
calendar.
Wednesday is the last one.
I know that Wednesday is the last day of classes. There is a Wednesday.
The 15th, right? Also, today's the first, so we have next week and then the next one.
Yeah, and then so the 16th would be the presentation day.
Yeah, so it's like
But
we
by
need to make
15
sure.
we need to hand already because.
Yeah, but by then I don't want to be like, all right,
Well,
can
it's
you
not
do
gonna,
this
I
right
doubt
before?
he's gonna want it before noon. So like we'll meet, make any adjustments that need to be made.
Yeah.
We can do a little practice run through. You turn it in, and then we work on my thesis.
Yeah,
That's fair.
We can.
Because I will leave a week after that.
Oh, have to hand out all that. How long that has to be?
I think it's gonna be like 30 days.
Wow.
But there's gonna be a lot of pictures. So like it's
That's kind of nice.
yeah.
At least you know a lot of things. It's not so
But like I leave
yeah.
3 weeks from today for Australia.
Are you excited?
Are you excited?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to submit everything before I leave because I'm gonna be in the air when the deadline passes.
Oh, nah, you'll be. Plus, you don't want to worry about that. You want to have your.
Oh yeah, no, I want to be totally done. I don't want.
Exactly.
The only thing I want to be worrying about is like,
I
all right,
decided,
Charles, we're presenting in mid-June.
Wait, oh, so you have to come back and then.
Yes,
present.
also I'm going to Australia from the 22nd, and then I get back the night of the 6th,
Mm.
and then
When you
But
present.
that's pretty.
the
fast.
11th through the 14th, I think, are the dates we have for Argonne National Lab for House Project. So I'm helping run experiments there, and then the 16th through the 19th is the ATS meeting for Atlanta, and
Wow.
they have not yet sent out the schedule for when I will be presenting on that, and also when other people are presenting. So I don't even know like when there's stuff that like I might be presenting. I don't know on the 16th, and maybe
Right.
there's somebody that I want to see on the 19th. So then I have to be like, Charles, let me stay in Atlanta for 2 days.
Yeah. That's
I
fair.
don't know. I don't even know if I know anybody in Atlanta that would be like, hey, can I crash on? If like Charles doesn't want to go with me, I don't know.
That's funny.
Alright, let's go take photos upstairs.
Okay.